Dr. Sripadra J.R., founder and CEO of Global Placo Solutions Private Limited. I carry around 13 plus years of working experience in drug safety and pharmacovigilance and currently a consultant and advisor for US and European based clients. During the time of consulting, I noticed that the majority of the clients were looking for skills in DSUR, PSUR, PBRER, signal detection and management, as well as RMP. These skills are in great demand and only a handful of professionals are available in the market who are properly trained and qualified. Also, I have been receiving a lot of queries on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter from numerous candidates across various countries asking for guidance on how to get into aggregate reporting jobs and what would be the starting point. This is when I realized the need which motivated me to start with the training programs and to help them with a thorough understanding of the basics of the aggregate reports. I have made a lot of efforts to put in the training content together. We at Global Placo Solutions have been providing individual and corporate training programs for organizations and helping them to prepare for their upcoming projects. We have trained more than 8 organizations and 80 plus candidates already. Most of the candidates were from India, the US, UK and other countries. If you are a PV professional looking to improve your career and want to get into aggregate reporting jobs, then this program is definitely for you. I would like to invite you to join my training programs which are formulated and specifically designed with practical and real-time based scenarios where you will be learning about the background, scope, purpose, objectives and also all the sections in detail. Now, let's see in detail about what is a signal, why it is so important to perform this activity, what is the format or the template and what are the contents of the signal detection report. Do we really need to submit the signal detection report to the regulatory authorities? Let's find out in the training.
Signal detection and management. Let's look at the table of contents. We have overview, steps in the signal detection and management, sources of data information, methodology, quality requirements for MAH or CRO. Now let's see what is a signal. Information arising from one or multiple sources including observations and experiments which suggests a new potentially causal association or a new aspect of a known association between an intervention and an event or set of related events either adverse or beneficial that is judged to be of sufficient likelihood to justify verificatory action. Please note, here it is mentioned as either adverse or beneficial. Even the beneficial can also be a signal. A signal often relates to all medicinal products containing the same active substance, including combination products. Certain signals may only be relevant for a particular medicinal product or in a specific indication, strength, pharmaceutical form, or route of administration, whereas some signals may apply to a whole class of medicinal products. For the purpose of monitoring data in the Vigilance database, also referred to as Vigilance, only signals related to an adverse reaction shall be considered. Our reference document would be Guideline on Good Pharmacovigilance Practices, that is GVP Module 9, Revision 1. Let's look at signal management process. A set of activities performed to determine whether, based on an examination of individual case safety reports, that is ICSRs, aggregated data from active surveillance systems or studies, scientific literature information or other data sources, there are new risks associated with an active substance or a medicinal product, or whether known risks have changed, as well as any related recommendations, decisions, communications and tracking. Now let's look at these steps. The EU signal management process includes the detecting signals to recommending actions as follows. We have signal, first is the detection, then validation, then assessment, after that is the confirmation, then analysis and prioritization, then comes the recommendation for action and exchange of information. These are the 7 steps in the EU signal management process. Let's look at the first step, that is detection. The process of looking for or identifying signals using data from any source. Signal detection may involve a review of ICSRs, statistical analysis, or a combination of both, depending on the size of the data set. When it is not relevant or feasible to assess each individual case, that is signals detected from published studies, healthcare record data, etc., assessment of aggregated data should be considered. Step 2 is the validation. The process of evaluating the data supporting the detected signal in order to verify that the available documentation contains sufficient evidence demonstrating the existence of a new potentially causal association or a new aspect of a known association and therefore justifies further analysis of the signal. So the evaluation should take into account the strength of the evidence, the clinical relevance, and the previous awareness of the association. The extent of evaluation performed during signal validation versus further assessment may vary according to the organization's internal procedures. This slide is important. Validation. Now we have validated signal and non-validated signal. Let's see validated signal. A signal for which the signal validation process has verified that the available documentation contains sufficient evidence demonstrating the existence of a new potentially causal association or a new aspect of a known association and therefore justifies further analysis of the signal. Next, non-validated signal. A signal for which the signal validation process has led to the conclusion that the available documentation at that point in time does not contain sufficient evidence demonstrating the existence of a new potentially causal association or a new aspect of a known association and that therefore further analysis of the signal is not warranted. Coming to step 3, that is assessment. The process of further evaluating a validated signal, taking into account all available evidence to determine whether there are new risks causally associated with the active substance or medicinal product or whether known risks have changed. This review may include non-clinical and clinical data and should be as comprehensive as possible regarding the sources of information. There is one more important thing here, that is refuted signal. I have highlighted this. Usually this is asked in the interview. A refuted signal is a validated signal which following further assessment has been determined to be false. That is, a causal association cannot be established at that point in time. Please note this refuted signal. Now, what is a emerging safety issue? A safety issue considered by a marketing authorization holder to require urgent attention by the competent authority because of the potential major impact on the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal product or on patients or public health and the potential need for prompt regulatory action and communication to patients and healthcare professionals. Examples include major safety issue identified in the context of ongoing or newly completed studies, an unexpectedly increased rate of fatal or life-threatening adverse events, a restriction of use of the medicinal product or its withdrawal from the market. Now, step 4, signal confirmation. This is done by PRAC, rapporteur or lead of any member state. The process of deciding whether or not a validated signal entered in the European Pharmacovigilance issues tracking tool, that is EPITT, requires further analysis and prioritization by the PRAC. This should be done by the PRAC rapporteur or the lead member state within 30 days from the receipt of the validated signal. Signal confirmation is not intended to be a full assessment of the signal. The fact that a signal is confirmed, that does not mean that a causal relationship has been established, but that the signal should be discussed at EU level and further investigated by the PRAC. Once the signal is validated, it will be decided by the PRAC as to whether it is a confirmed signal or a non-confirmed signal. A confirmed signal is a validated signal entered in the EPITT that requires further analysis and prioritization by the PRAC according to the PRAC rapporteur or any lead of the member state. Non-confirmed signal is a validated signal entered in EPITT that does not require further analysis and prioritization by the PRAC at that point in time according to the PRAC rapporteur or any lead of the member state. Now we will see in detail what is this step 5, that is analysis and prioritization. The process by which the PRAC determines whether a confirmed signal requires further assessment and if required to what time frame and in which procedural framework. This is based on an initial analysis of the potential impact of the signal on patients or public health and the risk-benefit balance of the concerned medicinal product. So let's look at the prioritization. Every organization should monitor and the process is continuously performed throughout signal management, which aims to identify those signals suggesting risks with a potential important patients or public health impact or which may significantly affect the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal product and thus require urgent attention and management without any delay. So what are the points to be considered when evaluating this impact? The first and foremost point is the severity, seriousness, what is the outcome and reversibility of the adverse reaction and the potential for prevention. The second point would be the patient exposure and the estimated frequency of the adverse reaction. The third criteria is the patient exposure in vulnerable populations or in populations with different patterns of use where appropriate. The fourth point, the consequences of treatment discontinuation on the disease under treatment and the availability of other therapeutic options. The expected extent of the regulatory intervention, that is addition of adverse reactions, warnings, contraindications, additional risk minimization measures, suspension or revocation. Whether the signal is likely to apply to other substances of the same class of medicinal products. So these are the criteria for evaluation for prioritization. So how does the PRAC assess? Signal assessment by the PRAC. Following PRAC initial signal analysis and prioritization, the process of evaluating all available data relevant to a signal to determine the need for any regulatory action. This is led by rapporteur appointed by the PRAC committee following analysis and prioritization. Evaluation during signal validation and further assessment. The following elements should be considered when performing signal validation based on the review of ICSR data. If you are reviewing the ICSR data, you need to look at these following things. That is, previous awareness, for example, the extent to which information on the adverse reaction is already included in the product information, that is SMPC and package leaflet. Now next thing is the strength of the evidence taking into account, for example, number of cases in the context of patient exposure. Third point is clinical relevance and context. Example, seriousness and severity of the reaction, outcome and reversibility of the reaction. And the last point is information from other regulatory authorities worldwide. Now let's see what are the recommendations on signals from the PRAC. PRAC recommendations are adopted after prioritization and may include any or a combination of the following conclusions. The MAH should provide additional data for assessment within a signal procedure, provide a review of additional data on the signal in the following PSUR or submit an ad hoc PSUR, update the product information through an application for a variation to the terms of the marketing authorization, request to submit an RMP or to update the existing RMP, implement additional risk minimization measures, or they also can recommend the marketing authorization holders to sponsor a post-authorization study according to an agreed protocol and submit the final results of that study. They may ask the agency or member state to collect further information, for example via Pharmacovigilance non-urgent information system of the EU regulatory network, or perform any additional analysis, or ask the EMA scientific committee or EMA expert groups to be consulted. An inspection should take place in order to verify that the marketing authorization holder for the medicinal product, any other appropriate action that is not listed above, or simply no action is required at this point in time other than routine pharmacovigilance activities. Coming to transparency, in relation to the EU signal management process, the following information is published by the agency on the European Medicines web portal. They publish PRAC agendas, recommendations to update the product information in the agreed wording in all the EU official languages, cumulative list of all signals discussed by the PRAC with links to the relevant PRAC minutes, list of active substances subject to work sharing for signal management and outcomes of safety referrals and single assessment of PSURs which may be relevant to signal management are also published. Now let's look at the sources of data from where we can find the signals. Signals can arise from a wide variety of data sources. This potentially includes all scientific information concerning the use of medicinal products and the outcome of the use, that is quality, non-clinical and clinical data, including pharmacovigilance and pharmacoepidemiological data. The common sources for signal includes spontaneous reporting systems, active surveillance systems, studies and scientific literature reporting such data. Now coming to methodology, whenever we are performing signal detection as an activity, we need to have some kind of methodology. So signal detection should follow a methodology which takes into account and may involve a review of ICSRs, statistical analysis, or a combination of both depending on the size of the dataset. When it is not relevant or feasible to assess each individual case, that is signals detected from published studies, healthcare record data, assessment of aggregated data should be considered. The signal detection process should be adequately documented by each organization and data from all appropriate sources should be considered and clinical judgment should always be applied. So this is mainly for audits. If you are performing signal detection as an activity, everything has to be documented in an organized way. Now let's look at the quality requirements. Signal management is considered a critical process and this system should be clearly documented to ensure that the system functions properly and effectively. Roles, responsibilities and required tasks are clear and standardized. These tasks are conducted by staff with appropriate qualifications and expertise, and there are provisions for appropriate control and when needed improvement of the system. A system of quality management should be applied to all signal management processes. Detailed procedures for this quality system should be developed, documented, and implemented. This includes the rationale for the method and periodicity of signal detection activities. Through a tracking system, all organizations should keep an audit trail of signal management activities, allowing traceability, that is, recording of dates and confirmation of timelines, and also process control of the details of all the steps of signal management, including analysis, decisions, and rationale. Let's look at the quality requirements for the MAH or CRO. The MAH or marketing authorization holders should include the description of the process in the pharmacovigilance system master file, that is PSMF. The performance of the system should be controlled, and when used, performance indicators should be presented in the annex of the PSMF. The marketing authorization holders shall put in place a record management system for all documents used for PV activities that ensures the retrievability of those documents, traceability of the measures taken to investigate safety concerns, of the timelines for those investigations, and of decisions on safety concerns, including their date and the decision making process. As for any critical process, signal management activities should be audited at regular intervals, including tasks performed by any service providers and contractors. Data and document confidentiality per the applicable laws and regulations, security and validity, including data integrity, when transferred between organizations should be guaranteed. Documentation demonstrating compliance with these requirements should be available at any time, including justification or evidence for the steps taken and decisions made. We are at the end of the session. Till now, you have learnt about what is a signal, steps, and what are safety concerns. This is just the theory part, which gives only the overview about the entire signal management process. The practical part, which is done in the companies or the organizations, are completely different and involves drafting of various sections and building the report. It involves activities like literature review, preparation of tables, and presentations of cases and providing analysis and medical judgment comments. If you want to be an advanced PV professional and would like to learn how to identify and differentiate between safety concerns and signals, and want to see how a completely drafted report looks like, then this session would be best for you. I am conducting a 2-day session of 4 hours each, where you will be learning about the template, how to shortlist and review articles, table preparation and presentation of cases, how to approach small, medium, or big reports depending on the data. An assignment will be given to you on day 1 to complete, which will be discussed in detail on day 2. Then all the other sections of the report and overall conclusion on how to build the report will be discussed and will be taught to you on day 1 and day 2. If you are interested to attend a session, you can register by logging on to our website, that is www.globalplacosolutions.com. You can go to under contact us. There you have two options, either inquiry and training. You can register under training. You will be receiving all the information about our upcoming sessions by email, and you can join the session upon your convenience and complete. Hope the video was informative and helpful. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Thank you very much for watching.